So named languages are groups of features identified externally by society as English or Arabic or Mandarin, just to name a few. From this external perspective, which thinks about language as separate, bounded systems that exist outside of speakers themselves, we would look at this bilingual student and identify one of their named languages as their L1, the other as their L2. And as you can see here in this image, this external view would conceptualize that L1 and that L2 as separate from one another, boxed off from each other. The other perspective, the internal perspective, understands language not as a system that is separate from speakers themselves, but as an interrelated, complex system of linguistic features that each of us assembles to express ourselves and make meaning across different contexts. So this internal view would view students like this not as having an L1 or an L2 different languages, but as languaging through the use of that one integrated linguistic repertoire, choosing features, suppressing other features in a way that makes sense for the communicative situation. So these different perspectives on language matter because they often lead to different perspectives on bilingual students. So because an external perspective frames students' languaging as these bounded named languages, it means that students could be viewed as incomplete or unbalanced in their bilingualism. It also views students' fluid languaging, the use of their full linguistic repertoire without suppressing any features, as code switching, which often brings with it denigrating ideas or perceptions like, oh, students don't know one language well enough to speak it fully, so they switch back and forth between them, or that they speak only an informal version of a language or of two languages like Spanglish. And because bilingual students' languaging doesn't necessarily line up with named language norms and expectations, this external perspective can be aligned with a version of schooling that focuses on remediating students' supposed language gaps by teaching them narrow conceptualizations of, say, academic language, if they are going to meet standards and succeed. This insider perspective would view what some call code switching as a way of languaging that aligns with the communicative norms of students' bilingual homes and communities. In this way, bilingual students language the way we all language, by leveraging all of our linguistic resources for meaning making and communication. But because of ideologies around, for example, native speakers and standard language, for example, this normative way of languaging is marked as different and even problematic in certain speakers. An internal translanguaging perspective embraces this communicative norm and invites a version of schooling that leverages the linguistic gifts that students already have while adding new features and practices to their repertoires. Remember that this is only one part of a robust program on the topic of translanguaging, and I encourage you to attend the full live event supporting multilingual learners with translanguaging strategies, hosted by Dr. Rabia Haas on September 14th from 1 to 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. In this ILA Intensive, specific strategies on classroom-ready instructional ideas, family engagement, and more will be modeled, and you'll get clear, concrete ideas for implementing a translanguaging design for literacy instruction, one that not only acknowledges, but embraces the full linguistic repertoire of multilingual learners. Registration includes on-demand access to a recording of the event through March 14th, 2022. But if you're able to attend live, you'll have a chance to participate in the Q&As, live Q&As with the speakers following each session.